Welcome everybody to Executive Life Magazine Executive Summit. I'm joined by Chaz Wolfe. How you doing, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Let me give you your formal introduction here.
Yeah.
Originally from Columbia, Missouri, Chaz Wolfe has been a resident for KC for almost a decade. He's been married to his wife Julie for 9 years. You have 2 little girls,
Yeah.
JC Justice and Milo Grace. You want to say hi to them?
Yeah. Hello, ladies.
Okay. He says family is a huge why for him in his life and a pillar of consistency and support in the midst of his aggressive business moves, which we're going to talk more about. In April 2012, Chaz, you left your position as a senior sales manager for Home Advisor and made the head-first plunge into the first Edible Arrangements franchise. Later in 2012, you purchased your second Edible Arrangements franchise, owning the Overland Park and Lenexa locations. About a year later, in late 2013, you expanded to north to Midtown Kansas City with your 3rd location. This was your first crack at building a brand new store. I can't wait to hear about that. And then, not to let any grass grow under your feet, about another year and a few months later, Chaz expanded his enterprise to the metro of Wichita, Kansas. Building a brand new store in the market that had never had an Edible Arrangements franchise was challenging, yet one of the best experiences Chaz says he could have gotten. So ladies and gentlemen, let's give him a round of applause for Chaz, please.
Thank you.
So Chaz, let's jump right in. Tell us more about your why. Let's start there.
My why.
Your why, yes.
Yeah. Well, I think having a why is extremely important. So that's point number 1, maybe.
Okay.
I think a lot of people talk about it, but don't actually know.
Right.
And so I would just maybe suggest anyone hearing this is that you should figure out what your why is.
Absolutely.
For me, my why obviously is my family. I get up out of bed for them, but even deeper than that is why I was created, because I'm created to be who I am and the way that I've been designed and the things that I'm talented at and those type of things. But my family specifically, the pillar that I kind of mentioned, I'm always looking to make a move, always looking for the next deal, and they've been patient and kind, and my wife is steadfast and loving, and my 2 little girls, 3 and 1, they have no idea what's going on currently, but they love it when Daddy's home, and I love playing with them, and that's a huge reason why I get up, most of the times before everybody and go to sleep after everybody. So
that was the one thing that stood out for me when we talked. We talked about how you're wired as an entrepreneur, you're a sales guy, you're the next deal. Say more about that. How has that impacted your approach to business, and for those that have that similar kind of wiring as a sales guy?
Yeah, for me, sales is like hunting. For me, I love big game hunting. My dad and I go elk hunting, and it's the most intense thing that you've ever done, right? Wow. So sales is the same thing. It's you're just after the next deal. You're always pushing yourself to the limits, and selling fruit is wonderful and people love it, but there's no real hunting in that. And so I guess I translated the hunt to expanding my enterprise, I guess. So the looking for the next deal, always wanting to make a move, always wanting to expand, of course, has then led to other things like growing a team and empowering people, and so it's like this. As I've created moves, it's allowed me to then use other talents that I have, of team building and all this other stuff of actually then making the businesses go.
Right. So let's go back in time when you were growing up. So how did that hunt for the next deal, how did that play out when you were younger? Like, how did that translate? I'm just wanting to know, the audience wants to maybe know a little bit more about your story, as we'll get to all the good Edible Arrangements stuff, but I want to hear more about that. Tell us when you were a kid, like, were you a sports guy? Were you tell me how you were a go-getter when
competitive basketball player most of my life. Played AAU ball and ended up playing ball at Ozark Christian College in Joplin.
Wow. Okay.
And so that was always a major push, and then eventually I don't know if it was just my practical black and white mind, but I realized that I probably wasn't going to make much money playing that sport, and so I realized to kind of switch gears and trying to figure out business. I always knew I wanted to be my own boss, but it was just that drive inside of me to always want more. I grew up a single mom family, not knowing who my dad was. Recently, in the last 5 years, I've met him. He didn't even know I existed. Crazy story, but he's a fantastic guy, and we've got a great relationship now. But growing up, people always thought it's like, well, maybe you're trying to be someone that you didn't have. That go-getter, that ambitious person. And my response to that was always, I don't feel that way. I feel like I'm created to be who I am. This is how I operate, and I just need more. I just always want more, like the next and the next, and expand. And of course, you have to take care of what you've acquired and not oversee things. But the expansion, just pressing all boundaries is always something that burns in me.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Okay, so Tell me about some of your role models that have impacted. We talked about this before.
Sure.
I mentioned I'd like to hear more some about your heroes. That could be a book, that could be a live person, that could be a family member. Is there anyone that's really impacted you that's kind of helped shape how you got to where you are right now?
Sure.
At the age that you're at right now, by the way, which we'll get to how you're stepped into your success right now.
Yeah. If I had to name one person as far as who I've looked up to, like I mentioned, growing up a single mom family, watching my mom work 2-3 jobs, really doing whatever it takes. Like I think that although I feel like I'm designed a certain way to then output certain things, but I learned how to never give up, how to never quit, how to do whatever it takes to work until the end, figure it out, be creative, all these things. Just being raised by a single mom, being the only boy and the oldest, I filled a role oftentimes of maybe what I shouldn't have had to do.
Right.
But I look back on that and I'm thankful for those things because I am today, I'm able to think maybe in a way or in a creative way or outside the box or in a way that if I've got my mind on something, it is going to happen.
Right.
Of course, Lord willing. But if I have anything to do with it, it's all the way, and I'm all the way in. And so I thank my mom for those things. Outside of that, I had a youth leader growing up that was kind of like my father figure. Learned how just to maybe be a man from that.
Sure.
But outside of that, the unfortunate part is that, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate with, is that I haven't had that one person. It's been more of my faith and just the Lord just kind of covering me in a lot of things that I've done. But anyway, I think that it's a testament to you can, it doesn't matter where you come from or if you have a hero or if you have a mentor or not, you can still put your nose to the grindstone and make it happen. Now, of course, I've always been in lookout for someone who can mentor me. And there's been times, pockets of my life where I've rubbed shoulders with certain people. I even have great friends of mine that are my age that I rub shoulders with all the time. One of which I can think of was in my wedding. Runs a multi-million-dollar business, and just sharing ideas back and forth in a conversational way sharpens me in a way, and I'm sure it does with him. So
wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
So tell me more. So it's been said business can be a team sport, and we talked, and I read some of your information about how you're able to raise up teams in all these cities. Tell us your staff. What do you have? You have 5 managers. You have 5 area managers. How many employees do you have?
So between 40 and 50 employees, and 5 managers, 2 district managers.
Okay.
And so we've got a great team. I will be the first one to say that I have not done any of this on my own. Yeah. And so the faster that we've gone, the more vital those people are. And so I think that might be a missing link that maybe a lot of people have. They want to grow fast, they want to double down and grow numbers and see the top line grow, which is great, but all the challenges that come along with that, especially if you do it extremely fast like we've done, a lot have to do with employees and just creating a team and creating an environment that they want to be in. And gosh, for a retail franchise where, unfortunately I don't have the ability to pay fantastic, wages, just because that's the nature of the business.
Right.
And so caring about your people, putting a place where they can have fun and enjoy who they're working with, and loving the product, of course, is a benefit where they know that they're celebrating life with other people. I mean, that's what people use edible arrangements for, right? Is to celebrate things in life, and we partner with them in that. And so there's all kinds of ways, I guess, that we've developed that, but even more so just with the managers. One of my district managers started part-time with me in my first store. So it's like to have someone like that who had just moved to Kansas City, who really didn't have much of a background, had graduated from college, which is more than I can say, but he worked his way up from part-time to a supervisor to a manager, then to district manager, and he's one of my right-hand guys. So it's like, for someone like that, that brings me fulfillment. To see him grow and to I push my business to the limit so that I can help him take care of his family, because that motivates me.
Okay, you said a lot right there. Let's unpack that. No, it was really good. I want to unpack that because I know there's people watching this in our audience and even watching this video right now that maybe they have one employee.
Sure.
Maybe they have themselves, just them, or maybe it's them and their spouse or a partner of some sort, and they have the big dream, they have the big why. And then can you just back up a little bit, when you were just starting out, Did you think it was going to go like that, or did you have it in your mind? Okay, you kind of saw it. This is what I wanted. Did it happen like that, or did it just kind of just go on momentum? So I'll start there, and I'll just keep unpacking this with you.
That's a great question. So yeah, momentum is a real thing.
Yeah.
And in your business, in your family, in your career, if you will, and the longevity of it. But momentum is a real thing. And so when I bought my first store, I was leaving a very good job, 6-figure salary or job, and really took the plunge. Like, hey, like I'm leaving it all behind. I figure if I should do it now while I'm young before I get too comfortable, and and literally had no income. So I mean, I had a business that was already operating, but it was generating basically enough for me to buy the second one.
Wow.
And then for the third one, and then the fourth one. And so you have, I guess, did I see it going is exactly this way? No. Did I have a plan for not wanting to just own one and make fruit baskets forever? No. I mean, of course, that's what I thought. I wasn't thinking I wanted to make fruit baskets. I wanted to be in business. I wanted to grow sales. I wanted to grow people. I wanted to grow teams. So, between those two, they kind of merged together. Of me always wanting to make something happen, and then of course the opportunities that came along, or ones that I kind of maybe created along the way that have then enabled the other half.
Because I know with some businesses there's different time frames and schedules, and some things it takes a little longer. Sometimes when it comes, it's like, and it's like a little bit at a time. So. Sure. If you were to advise, let's say you were a coach, you were advising somebody, and they came to you, because all business owners are different and wired differently. What are some of the overarching principles that you saw, looking back now that you're 7 stores in, if you were to go back to the beginning again, and everything you've learned so far, how would you advise us? How would you advise me? How would you advise our audience?
Yeah, I would say anybody who's in business or in sales, I guess really any industry, but I've talked to many salespeople, and I ask them, have you ever read a sales book? And they're like, well, no, I haven't. It's like, okay, well, so you're planning on doing something with your life to create an income for your family that you've never even been a student of. So would you go to the doctor that's never been to school? I mean, of course not, right? So I link that to that any business owner or any salesperson or anyone just wanting to make it happen in whatever industry that they're in, what book are you reading? What did you read last month? What podcast are you listening to on the way to work? That's where it started for me. When I was, I left college. My mom at that time didn't have a job and was really struggling, and so I felt as the head of the household, per se, at that time, that it was my duty to come back and to help. And so at that time, being 19, 20 years old, I spent the next probably 3 years, and I read probably 150 books.
Wow.
I mean, that's a lot of books. I was reading probably 2 or 3 a month. And I mean, I can, How to Win Friends and Influence People, 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. I mean, you name it, new, old, it doesn't matter. What are you doing to develop yourself? That's number one, because it doesn't matter your personality, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. You have to always be feeding, because if you're not feeding, there's nothing coming out on this side, So I would say that's number one as far as coach. Like, what are you doing to better yourself? Number two, I would say would be, are you in it? Are you like all the way in? Are you committed? Like, did you not necessarily burn the bridges, but are you making it happen? Because as a business owner, as you guys well may know, it's up to you. If it's up to me, then guess what? It's going to get done, because when I put my name to something, when I put my thoughts to something, it's done. Count it done, because it's my word on the line, it's my reputation, my commitment to my family, whatever it is for you that makes you go.
Sure.
But when I put my name on that line, it's done. Count it done, and then I have to go figure it out, right? And so that's when your personality comes in, and your maybe your different industries and the challenges that you're having of maybe employees or how to grow or whatever. That's all the figure it out stuff, right? And of course, everybody's going to have their own struggles, but the stuff that you can control. That's what I would like. Number one.
You're holding out on me, man. Your role models. You mentioned Grant Cardone, all these books you read. So what are the
books,
top? Who are your most inspirational gurus, teachers
Sure.
in the sales business world? Who would you say would be top 3?
I would say
today?
Right now I'm a huge Grant Cardone fan.
Okay.
And if you don't know who he is,
he's intense.
He is super intense.
He's intense.
And anyway, but there's just so many books. I mean, my wife and I were part of a multi-level marketing business as younger kids, and so being a part of something like that, where you have someone saying, hey, why why don't you check this book out, check that book out. It was the beginning
Right.
of my hunger of all of it,
Right.
you know. And so, you know, reading just a basic book like How to Win Friends and Influence People, or Bringing Out the Best in People, or Leadership Training by Navy SEALs, or I mean, it doesn't matter. I wanted to get my hands on it, you know. So I don't want to name drop too much necessarily, because
Sure.
to me they're all there's not one necessarily better than the other. You're going to find one that works better with your personality. I'm a pretty intense guy, and so, you know, over the last year or so, I've listened and read to a lot of Grant's stuff, and he just kind of fits in my lane. You know,
Sure,
so.
sure. So student first, and be all in.
Yeah.
Those are your top two.
Yeah.
Everything else will get figured out after that.
Yep.
I love it.
Make it happen. Just commit it. You know, or you know, there's a lot of people that will say in a success book, you know, commit first, think later, figure it out later. But if you commit to it, if your name's on the line, you know, for me as a young kid, bought my first store, there were people who thought I was crazy. You know, not only leaving my income, and then going and buying a franchise. They were like, well, you're never going to get a loan to do that. And it's like, okay, well, you know, again, single mom growing up, I didn't have.
So they told you that, you said, yeah, watch.
Oh, right, exactly. You know, I didn't have this like inheritance that I just said, hey, thanks, Dad, appreciate it. I'm gonna go make it happen.
Right.
It was a scenario where, hey, you know, pick me up by my own bootstraps type of.
How did you do that? How did you end up? If you don't mind, I mean, that's amazing how you did that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I worked, and my wife is unbelievably disciplined when it comes to saving.
Okay.
And not so much. When I was younger, I probably had too many shoes and clothes and stuff, and was never taught about finances. Never taught about how to treat your house like a balance sheet and a P&L, like income coming in. Here are my assets. Here are my expenses. And so I just never thought about it like that. Not that necessarily my wife did, but she wanted to. She was here. Look, hey, let's keep it all right here. You know.
Right.
And so between the two of us, it's like this.
Got that saver
this tug
spender
and
rhythm in
pull.
the marriage.
Yeah. And so anyway, we were just poised from a young age. We got married young, and so it was just, hey, here's what we want to do. We don't necessarily exactly knew what it looked like, but we knew that eventually we wanted to make a move. So we were just disciplined.
That's fantastic. Wow. So then let's talk about, I kind of want to unpack a little bit about the people development in your organization. I think that's something that I'd love to hear more about, because to go where how many, is it 5 years you've gone from
5
1 to
years.
7 stores?
Yeah.
That's some intense people development you're doing there. I mean, that's because that's your foundation. Without these guys and staying with you, and you're being their champion and all that stuff, and their leader, that's amazing. So let's talk about that a little bit. So principles of people development, the journey, the struggles, the successes. Would you mind? Let's go on that little trail a little bit.
Yeah, so store one, I was there literally every day. I was the guy. I bought it from a guy who was retiring basically, and he had a team of a few people, which I then didn't have those people within about 4 months. And so I already knew that I was gonna have to ramp up, and of course remember at the same time I bought the second store 6 months after that. So I was already thinking about number two, going, how am I gonna do that while I'm over here building this? And so ended up having someone that I knew through a few people, hired him on as the manager for the first store while I kind of went and revamped the second store. There was a manager already at the second store that I spent time with and developed, and she was with me for about 1.5 years, and then she ended up moving away. But that for me, having someone that I trusted, for me, was the biggest thing. I didn't need him to necessarily be perfect.
Right.
I needed him to be trustworthy so that I could be in another place.
What meant trustworthiness for you bringing someone into your family, edible arrangements? What did that look like? What kind of
at that
person
level,
you looking for?
I needed him to basically, well, of course, the simple, money is always a huge. I didn't want the money walking out the door while I was at the other store, type of a thing. That's common sense, but obviously to be said,
integrity, of course.
Yeah, integrity. But then just to know that when I left, that things were getting done. Like that I could trust him to say, hey, I got you, boss. And to know that then it was going to be done. And it may not have been done exactly to how I would have done it, because again, most business owners, you could probably relate. If your 100% is here, there's not many people that are going to be able to get to your 100%. Right. And so this was a lesson I had to learn very quickly, because I couldn't be everywhere all at the same time. And so I had to be okay with not necessarily lowering my standard, but I had to be okay with his 100%.
How they did it.
Yes, I had to be okay with his 100%, maybe not looking exactly like my 100%.
Right.
And most business owners are perfectionists and want things in a certain way, in a certain order. Maybe not so much of a perfectionist in your personality, but you're in your standard. And so you have to be okay with the other person being who they are, not being you. Because if I was looking for me, well, I needed to stop looking for me because me was out doing my own thing. I wasn't going to come work for me. Right. So I needed to stop looking for me.
I think you're nailing some really. I'm very impressed with this young man. He's got an emotional maturity. You got a maturity about you, like
Sure.
the fact that no, seriously, like, because when what you just said is something that a lot of people, they hire just like themselves and try to fit into a mold and looking like this, and you can see. But what you're doing is you're actually, because when you're a business, you're a parent. You're a parent, and not all, are your two daughters the same?
Right. No, not at all.
To the no, right? I
Yes.
mean, there's different strategies,
Yeah.
there's different approaches, but they are created uniquely and beautifully, and you're coming alongside serving them to raise them up to be who they're created to be. And it's like almost with your staff, the fact that you can admit that with your money, with your finances. This is your brand. This is your baby, and you're giving room and space for people to come in, and you're allowing them to flourish. And it's going to take It's going to take time. They're not good at first. I mean, right? I mean,
exactly.
So talk about that.
I would say that the for the perfectionist or for the overachiever like myself, the gap there is mistakes, right? And so I don't allow mistakes. Right, but you have to, right? We're all real. We're human, right? So you have a standard, and you hold people to a standard, but you also have to allow for life. You also have to allow for personality. You also have to allow for, like I said, maybe they're 100% looking different than yours. And so, does every delivery of edible arrangements that comes out of my store look absolutely perfect? Well, I hope it does. But I can't be there to check it because I have 7 stores in 3 states, right? So I have hired people to put them in place to know the standard. But guess what? This one might look slightly different, or guess what? This one might look, or this one may have had a mistake. That's what I mean, not look different, but someone may have made a mistake. They may have counted wrong, or I don't know, maybe they delivered it to the wrong address and the customer's upset, or they delivered past the time that we told them we were going to be there, even though we don't do time deliveries, but we try to be helpful and accommodating. But we ruined that person's day because it was an hour late, and so it's like. Of course, you always want to be perfect every time, right? So you strive for perfection, but you have to be able to not necessarily lower your standard. Being realistic is not lowering your standard. It's working with people. It's working out the kinks.
It's repairing the mistake, repairing when things go wrong. Right.
Yep. And I would even say that that's something that I learned from the gentleman who started Edible Arrangements, Tarek Fareed, 17, 18 years ago out in Connecticut. He said that you may not always get it right, but you always have the chance to make it right.
That's good.
And so as a business owner, especially in the retail industry, it's like, especially dealing with a product that comes from the ground, I mean, gosh, I didn't make the strawberries. You know what I mean? I bought the strawberries, we cleaned the strawberries, we hope that they're perfect, we put them together for a beautiful bouquet, but guess what? By the time it got to my customer, maybe it wasn't as perfect as we wanted it to be. That's okay, but I have the chance in that moment to then make it right.
So you're fully investing in your, let's call them captains or lieutenants in your
And I say, hey,
in your
this is your duty. Right? I don't want you to call me every time there's an upset customer.
You to figure it out.
Yeah,
Come to me if you're stuck, and we'll work it through.
Yeah, because I trust them. I empower them, because if I took everything, if I made every single decision, then they would.
You're not opening up 7 stores either.
Well, that's true.
Right? I mean,
I wouldn't have the time.
Could you been able to do that?
No, wouldn't have that time.
So you find the right people, you're investing in them, you're taking time to do that, you're raising them up, and you're walking them through the imperfections in your mind.
Yep,
right?
exactly. Yep.
So, okay.
Yep. A book on that note, just while we're plugging, Good to Great, getting people right in the right seat with the right talents on the bus. Or if they're not the right person, get them off the bus.
That's good. What's been the biggest challenge so far with Edible Arrangements for you?
Our specific business, not just business in general, but with Edible Arrangements, our business is designed. We obviously have products every single day. Get well, happy birthday, happy anniversary. But our 2 busiest times of the year, Valentine's Day and Mother's Day, are insane. To give you an idea, so I told you already, with 7 stores, I employed about 40, 45 people, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but the times for Valentine's Day, let's just throw an example. 3 years ago, when I only had 3 stores, I had 200 people working for me that week. 3 stores. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Between delivery drivers, in-help workers in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, overnight. People don't realize that this is a fresh fruit product, that we can't make it early, right? It has to be made fresh. And so
we can't hurry love. You just have to wait.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so I would say that's the biggest challenge, if you will, is figuring out those 2 times. Christmas is a close number 3, but it's a little bit more spread out over the month. But those two days of the year, those 2 weeks are extremely intense for us. So it's hiring extra staff, making sure that our core staff is competent and ready to go and fired up and rested, and
yes.
and Papa Chaz comes out and asks them to drink water and get rest and eat right and do all the things, so that way, through that intense time for our business that we're all on the same page, that we can hold each other up. And
you bring out the calisthenics mats and everyone's doing
exactly.
quick sprints.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's a seasonal challenge that you have right now, and you just have to have a lot more energy to make a lot of your budget for the rest of the year, I would imagine, right? Okay. What's been the greatest thrill, joy, success so far? Let's talk about that for a little bit.
Sure. So in 2013, so that was my first full year as a franchisee, I won rookie franchisee of the year.
Nice.
Which was awesome for me, just because I really, a lot like probably you guys, you start your own business or thinking about starting a business, and you kind of you feel like you know what you're doing, but you really
faking it till you're making it.
Absolutely, 100%. And so that was cool, just to have a larger scale recognition of going, hey, we like what you're doing, And so outside of that, creating a system, I don't really know. Other industries. I'm sure that systems are a play in most industries, but I'm a systems guy. I'm a flow guy. I want things to work smoothly, and so for us, it was a matter of analyzing what the current owners did, or the previous owners, figuring out what they did, talking with other owners that had figured it out per se, and then going, okay, so here's what I think is going to work for us, and then just working that into perfection potentially. So that way this past Valentine's Day, I was in Florida at my Florida store for the holiday, but I had 6 other locations in 2 other states that were operating on the busiest day of the year with minimal mistakes. It was unbelievably smooth, and I was states away, and so that was a huge win.
Wow.
For me in my mind. I had already obviously bought a store in Florida, right? That's crazy as it sounds, but I was there while 6 of my stores were here. And they didn't burn, Everybody got their arrangement, all the simple stuff,
Right.
That you think about as an owner, you're just like, well, what happens if I leave?
Right.
What happens if I leave, John in charge, or if I leave Kim in charge? What's going to happen? It's got that. It's my baby. It's my everything, because it's my investment, my money, everything that's put into it is for my family. And if I let it over to them, what's going to happen? So that was a huge success for us, for me to be there. For them to have run it smoothly, just like I knew that they could. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone there.
Yeah.
Right. But it was a
one thing you said was very powerful. I'm a huge fan of this. Is to business owners, whatever your field is, your passion, your expertise, go and interview the other experts. Go get with them, and serve them, and find out what's working for them, and really try and help. I mean, we talk about competitors. Our own competition is our own, really, what's here, in between here, between our head and our heart. That's our greatest obstacle, our greatest challenge. Fear, and just not being the student, not pushing yourself, not personally developing and growing.
Right.
So to interview the experts in the field, I think that has been the game. I think that's been the game changer for you to get as far as fast, because you're building upon the mistakes they all made.
Yep, exactly.
Right, and then you're synthesizing it and making it your own baby, and then running with it, and it's working, and then eventually things will happen. There'll be more challenges, and then you'll get right back in and ask the community, hey, what am I doing here? I need some because you have that relationship with them. I need some eyes here. Can you guys help me out?
Right.
What am I missing here? And they're going to go, oh, and you're going to, that's it.
Yep, exactly.
So,
and even more so than that, you picking ones in your industry, and then, like I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, having someone that you're close to, or someone that you've networked with and you've just gotten to know, dig into that person. They might be in a completely different industry, but as you can rub, whether it be creative ideas, or whether it be, hey, what do you think about this? I'm thinking about doing this, and just that's just super valuable.
Co-opetition, they're calling that. Competition to co-opetition, because So, well, okay, well, as we're circling the airfield, we've been getting clearance to land here. We got a couple more minutes left. I want to hear a little bit about, because we talked a little about your faith and how you integrate your faith into your business, and how that means so much to you. And if you want to share a little bit about that, have had some background in some ministry and serving people, so you kind of had a leg up with some principles sewn into you. So if you want to share a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said at the beginning, I was designed to be a builder, and that doesn't necessarily mean that if you feel like you're not designed to be a builder that you can't be a builder. I just know that from the inside of the inside, I know who I am, right? And so that gives me then confidence to then go do what I think I need to do. Even though in that moment it might be a mistake, it might be maybe not the right move or whatever, but I'm eventually getting to the right place. It may not be perfect every time, but knowing that I have not growing up having a father, but having a father that created me, that designed me to be who I am, that loves me, that gives me full clearance to be the son. There's a mentality of going that the keys to the kingdom get given to the son, no matter what. Not to the right hand man, not to the army general, not to the most qualified, but to the son every single time. It doesn't matter what you've done or what you haven't done. The son gets the keys every time. And so stepping into that role as a son or a daughter of, look, I'm created to be this. It's my inheritance, and so I just step right into it. I play that into the marketplace. Doing ministry in the marketplace. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm talking about Jesus every single day, right? But that just means I'm loving on people. I'm creating an atmosphere that is welcoming. That is a place for people, whether they share my beliefs or not, whether that they know that they're taken care of, that I've got their back, And of course, if the time is right, I'll share why I do what I do and believe what I believe. But for me, it's a matter of just loving well, and in the marketplace you can do that so well because so many business people are greedy and jaded and out for themselves, right? Well, you can be ambitious, you can be focused, you can be driven, you can be goal setter and a goal getter and all these things, right? But you can still love well through the process, and so that's, I guess, what I would say is what we're attempting to do.
Amen.
Yeah.
Chaz Wolfe, thank you. Was this okay? Did
Absolutely,
you enjoy this? Can we give him a round
It's
of
been
applause,
great.
ladies
It's
and
been great. I
gentlemen?
appreciate you guys.
And we'll be right back. Thank you.